Hello, 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 hello. Good evening. It is... Oh, the candle's still on. It is day 100 of reading the Bible in a year. And this is the fourth reading of tonight. And it is the penultimate chapter of Acts. Acts chapter 27. So I better get reading, because it's a bit longer than the other readings I've done today. The voyage to Rome begins. And when it was decided that we should sail to Italy, they delivered Paul and some other prisoners to one named Julius, a centurion of the Augustan regiment. So, entering a ship of Adramyttium, we put to sea, meaning to sail across the coasts of Asia. Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Lacedonia, meaning to set sail across the coast of Asia. Aristarchus, a Macedonian of Thessalonica, was with us. And the next day we landed at Sidon, and Julius treated Paul kindly and gave him liberty to go to his friends and receive care. When we had put to sea from there, we sailed under the shelter of Cyprus, because the winds were contrary. And when we had sailed over the sea which is off Cilicia and Pamphylia, we came to Myra, a city of Lycia. There the centurion found an Alexandrian ship sailing to Italy, and he put us aboard. When we had sailed slowly many days, and arrived with difficulty off Cnidus, the wind not permitting us to proceed, we sailed under the shelter of Crete off Salmone. Passing it with difficulty, we came to a place called Fair Havens, near the city of Lycia. Paul's warning ignored. Now when much time had been spent, and sailing was now dangerous because the fast was already over, Paul advised them, saying, "Men, I perceive that this voyage will end with disaster and much loss, not only of the cargo ship, but also our lives." Nevertheless, the centurion was more persuaded by the helmsman and the owner of the ship than by the things spoken by Paul. And because the harbour was not subtle to winter in, the majority advised to set sail from there also. And if by any means they could reach Phoenix, a harbour of Crete, opening toward the southwest and northwest, and winter there in the tempest. When the south wind blew softly, supposing that they had obtained their desire, putting out to sea, they sailed close by Crete, but not for long after a tempestuous headwind arose, and it was called Euroclydon. So when the ship was caught and could not head into the wind, we let her drive. And running under the shelter of an island called Clauda, we secured the skiff with difficulty, and when they had taken it on board, they used the cables to undergird the ship, and fearing lest they should run aground on the Syrtis sands, they struck sail, and so were driven. And because we were exceedingly tempest-tossed, the next day they lightened the ship. On the third day we threw the ship's tackle overboard with our own hands. Now, when neither sun nor stars appeared for many days, and no small tempest beat on us, all hope that we would be saved was finally given up. But after long abstinence from food, then Paul stood in the midst of them and said, Men, you should have listened to me, and not have sailed from Crete and incurred this disaster and loss. Now I urge you to take heart, for there will be no loss of life among you, but only of the ship. For there stood by me this night an angel of the Lord, to whom I belong and whom I serve, saying, Do not be afraid, Paul. You must be brought before Caesar, and indeed God has granted you all those who sail with you. Therefore take heart, men, for I believe God that it will be just as it was told me. However, we must run aground on a certain island. Now when the 14th night had come, 14th night, as we were driven up and down in the Adriatic Sea, about midnight the sailors sensed that they were drawing near some land, and they took soundings and found it to be 20 fathoms. And when they had gone a little farther, they took soundings again and found it to be 15 fathoms. Then, fearing lest we should run aground on the rocks, they dipped 4 anchors from the stern and prayed the day to come. And as the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship, when they had let down the skiff into the sea, under the pretence of putting out anchors from the prow, Paul said to the centurion and the soldiers, Unless these men stay in the ship, you cannot be saved. Then the sailors cut away the ropes of the skiff and let it fall off. And as the day was about to dawn, Paul implored them all to take food, saying, Today is the 14th day you have waited and continued without food and eating nothing. Therefore I urge you to take nourishment, for this is your survival, since not a hair will fall from the head of any of you. And when he had said these things, he took bread and gave thanks to God in the presence of them all. And when he had broken it, he began to eat. Then they were all encouraged and also took food for themselves. And in all, we were 276 persons on the ship. Wow, that's a lot. So when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and threw out the wheat into the sea. Shipwrecked on Malta. Ooh. When it was day, they did not recognize the land, but they observed a bay with a beach, onto which they had planned to run the ship if possible. And they let go of the anchors and left them on the sea floor. Meanwhile, loosing the ruddered ropes, they hoisted the mainsail to the wind and made for shore. But striking a place where 2 seas meet, they ran the ship aground, and the prow stuck fast and remained immovable. But the stern was being broken up by the violence of the waves. And the soldiers' plan was to kill the prisoners, lest any of them should swim away and escape. But the centurion, wanting to save Paul, kept them from their purpose, and commanded that those who could swim should jump overboard first and get to land. And the rest, from some on boards and some on parts of the ship, and so it was that they all escaped safety to land. Safely to land. not safety. They all escaped safely to land. And my eyes went really weird in that bit because I am falling asleep. And I've also had to get a new TV to replace my old TV that I was using as a computer monitor. As well as using it as a computer monitor for work when I'm working from home, and also for just normal TV stuff. And the smallest one I could get was a 32-inch TV, which is a fair bit bigger than what I had before. But this one's quite nice. It's got some kind of overlayer which reduces the glare a bit, and it sort of gives it a kind of almost 3D effect to the screen. It's a quite nice one, actually. Alright, I will say goodnight and see you on Monday for day 101. Dalmatians. Alright, night-night.